Welcome back to the Double M Radio Games Club. It's a games club again, gang. I hope we're excited.
Wow, it's been so
It's
long
been a
since we've
minute.
done this. By the way, flashbang.
Lens flare. Yeah, we got a variety. We got two setup changes this episode. It's great. All right. It's Games Club time, which means we played a bunch of games, and we're going to talk about a bunch of games. Those games, we're going to start with Minishoot Adventures. That was the first Game Pass Games Club game we played this month.
Hell yeah.
Which I picked and fully forgot that I picked right before the episode. Okay, so if you haven't seen the show before, we're going to run through the variety of games that we picked last time we ran the show. And then we're going to talk about them. We generally have played about 2 hours of these. The idea is to give them all a demo treatment. It varies. Sometimes we play way more. Sometimes we play a little less if we don't like the game very much. And so it's all over the place. But none of these should be considered real reviews because we haven't actually played these games for that long in most cases. All right.
They're first impressions.
First impressions, demo treatments. You know, we're playing the demo discs. Minishoot Adventures is a game that Wyatt, I had remembered Wyatt saying he enjoyed ages and ages ago. So I assume I picked it because it was in the back of my mind because of that. For reference, I played this at least on my Switch 2. I did not actually play the Game Pass version, but excellent Switch 2 port.
Yep.
The easiest way to describe this is it's a twin-stick Metroidvania, in a sense. It's like top-down, kind of the top-down OG Zelda design sensibility, but with a twin-stick shooter gameplay system. And I found it quite enjoyable, if a little ridiculous, because I somehow missed the very first boss switch, which you turn on to fight the first boss and go in this little dungeon area. I managed to walk right past it, or fly my ship right past it, continue to full clear every other part of the map that I had access to.
You're crazy. I feel like you pulled a me with that
I don't
kind
know
of
how
stuff.
I did this, because I went back to find it and I was like, how did I miss this? It was so easy. But yeah, so I'm actually far further in the game than I should be for the point at which I have access to. I did most of the secondary big arena fights with no dash because I hadn't unlocked that area.
God.
Lord.
So I was like, why is it so difficult right now? And I think that was why.
I was thinking with the dash, oh man, there's a really steep difficulty curve after the first boss. What the hell's going on here? Those bullets are in fact hellish.
Yep.
It did take me a while to get used to the fact that there's no iframes when you dash here. It's mostly to
and
like
you can't dash through anything.
It's really following twin stick classic rules, so it is like you get hit, you're down. You have hearts here to kind of delineate your lives, so you can take 3 hits at the start, then it goes up pretty quickly as you like collect pieces of heart, Zelda style.
How many hearts do you guys have?
I have 4 so far. I think I'm
have
like halfway to 5.
6 because I picked up from
6.
my old save. I have like 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah, Wyatt has played a fair amount of this before.
This is going to get more than the demo treatment for me.
Yeah, I think this is one of the... I think there were 2 games this time that I'm going to continue playing, and this is one of them. I think Minishoot, I really enjoyed it, but I was getting... The thing with this is I'm very glad I went and found that Switch, because this would have been a very interesting start had I not been playing that for the 10 minutes beforehand and found it, because I was going to say, like, oh, it feels really confusing. I'm not quite sure where to go, even though it's painted on my map. I was like, I didn't see a way to get there. Turns out I was just blind and had passed it like 5 times.
There were quite a few moments where like a switch is hidden under a bush or a piece of rubble that you can shoot away or something, where for some reason my brain is like, oh, that's not anything. There's nothing under that bush. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Another thing, because you're mentioning, Metroidvania and old school Zelda. Another, I think, avenue of what's the nostalgia that this is giving me a lot are just like early Flash games in its art style.
Yeah, we talked about this when we were playing it before. This really, to me, feels like a mix of a Metroidvania twin stick, but injected with like old school Flash game design sensibilities in a good way. It feels very, very fun to play. I think the actual like responsiveness of the ship adds a lot to it because everything feels very tight. There's like a tiny bit of like not aim assist, but like bullet magnetism is probably the right way to put it. Where when you're shooting, I think all of us probably played on the normal setting, so it's like full twin stick. It doesn't auto aim for you or anything. You're moving both sticks, and you have a fair amount of bullet travel time because your bullets are pretty slow at the start, and you can rank them up and get upgrades and stuff. But at least at the start, it takes a while for them to actually get to the point that they're hitting something. But they have a fair amount of magnetism, so they'll as long as you are generally in the right direction, they'll kind of zoom into the thing that you're trying to hit, which is very cool because it makes it feel accessible despite being still very crazy. There are bullet hell moments in this for sure. But it never really felt overwhelming.
The big snake boss in the desert area gets very bullet helly, and it was great.
This is why I have no idea what you're saying because I haven't gotten to that area because I can't get there yet.
Snake is crazy. The first boss that I was stuck on for what is now probably a close to a fourth of my playtime is the one when the bosses start to get that or when the world bosses start to get that color inversion where it's the dark, the big dark purple and red, the thumper of that shoots out the black and red homing projectiles to you as well.
I'm gonna look at how many hours of this game I have played so that you have a context as to how little sense this makes to me.
So the other thing too is that I played this. I originally played this quite a while ago. I played the whole thing on Steam Deck. Great Steam Deck game.
Yeah, so I played about 2 hours of this game and have not beaten the first boss because I was so.
To our full period. 2 hours.
When I continued playing this, I left off from my save, so there might be stuff that I don't remember in the early game because I picked up from my old save. I have almost 10 hours in total.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it does sound like I get the vibe generally that we're all pretty positive on this one.
Absolutely.
One of the big things I'll add with this, it fits in with I would say Hyper Light Drifter, the type of game that is very easy to pick up and put down because the actual gameplay is just really simple to grasp, but there's a lot of fun stuff behind it. It feels like you could totally play this game in very short bursts and it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Especially because you unlock a bunch of stuff on the map that lets you keep track of things and expand your map and do add progress trackers and things like that on there after you find your little map buddy, and that has been very cool as well.
There's even a handy little feature where if you're near the entrance to a cave or a dungeon or something that you haven't found yet, there's a little beeping sound and it'll tell you if you're near something. It won't tell you exactly where it is, but it's hey, you're in the general vicinity. It sets you off to know
hey, what's that for map bits? Is it for other things?
What'd you say?
I've only noticed the beeping for map bits. Is it for other things as well?
Yeah, I think at least I think it can tell you the entrance of a cave. It won't tell you where it is, but it'll hint at it, which is kind of nice.
Very cool.
The way I describe this game, and this sounds kind of mean, but I swear I mean this in a really in a positive way. This is like fine dining gourmet junk food in the sense that it's not going to do anything that'll blow my mind, but it's incredibly well made and very, very straightforward and super addicting. But it's the highest form of that.
I love the plot twist during the second act where it switches genres, Wyatt. I don't know.
It switches genres and it becomes a fully different game. I don't think this is The Messenger, Alex. That's a different game. Yeah, generally I'm very positive on this one. I love the art style. I think the actual look of this game is really, really good. It's got this very clean 2D art look that I think is great. The only thing I noticed that has bothered me every time I see it, I'm curious if you guys notice this too. Whenever you jump, do the little ramps, it doesn't show your boost color. When you do the jump, it goes to nothing and then goes back to your boost color. It bothers me every time I do a ramp where you go through and see it go to no boost and then back to whatever boost you had afterwards. Don't know why. Just for some reason.
I've never noticed that, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it might just be a weird thing I noticed. I don't think it matters, but it has bothered me a little bit. Music is good. I don't think anything crazy to write home about. I think the actual environment design is great. the way the
the
levels are laid out is very good.
There's a good amount of variety too, because there's a lot of it's exploring, but then every now and then you'll come across these little race tracks that you race another robot in or another ship in, which it was nice seeing a bit of like variety from just like shooting things constantly.
Lost tons of time to one of them. I even found the one like hidden behind a tree that was actually quite hard.
They're assholes.
Like a hidden shop that I found that had a racetrack behind it, and I was like, that was super difficult. But
although it feels great when you fall down a pit and you lose some time, but then you're able to boost in a way where you catch back up again.
Yeah,
always feels really nice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool things like that. The upgrade system I like a lot because it's really simple. This is where I think the Flash game thing comes in, because it feels like the upgrades and stuff are what I would have been doing in a Flash game, where you're like clicking a button after you have enough currency to level up and do all these very slight upgrades that feel pretty dramatic. And it's very satisfying. It has that classic Flash game incremental kind of progression.
Also really easy to refund them and like just try out different mixes of.
One detail that I love is that there's an upgrade where you increase the damage of your shot, right? But they do it in a cool way where it's not just like, oh, it's the same beam, it just does more damage. No, now it's 2 beams. Now it's like 3 beams and 4 beams. So you're expanding in power not only by like you're literally hitting them with more of your shot, but it's also wider, which is I felt like was a nice way of streamlining that, but also does a good job of visually showing like it is getting more powerful.
Yeah, you're getting dramatically better.
Yeah, which was a nice touch, I thought.
Yeah. I also really like the way this game shows enemy health, where they slowly turn red. I like that as like a way of showing how much damage you've done to a thing, because it feels way cleaner than a health bar, but also very readable as you're going through.
The giant snake bot that we were telling you about earlier, right? It's segmented into a bunch of
way,
it segments its body into a bunch of different pieces where it kind of moves around, right? Cool. But the cool thing is as you're damaging it, it loses these pieces or like they become broken, and it doesn't matter where you hit it, its entire body is the health bar basically. So you can always
I noticed
as
that
long as you're seeing it,
hit the damaged pieces anymore. The damaged pieces didn't count towards hitting it. You got
but even if you damage a piece up front, everything shifts forward. So it's still a health bar. And the hitbox gets smaller. So it's like it's a health bar, but it's also functional in the design of the creature as well, which is really cool.
I'm so excited to finally fight this boss 2 hours in. Repeatedly missed.
They also did a great job of like it had a few of its like pieces lodged in the ground, almost like it was shedding skin. So it had this really cool like use of like foreshadowing and building up to it, which was really cool.
That's very cool.
And then I just see a giant projectile come at me off screen with like,
oh yeah, it doesn't announce itself. It just starts.
That's great.
And it just expects you to be ready. It was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I do really like along those lines how different the enemies feel, but all very readable, which has been very cool. It has a lot of enemy variety for a twin stick really early on. Where like there's lots of enemies that have very specific behaviors, and you learn them by fighting them, and it's very cool to kind of get to the point where you recognize all of it and can kind of like flow through a combat scenario without getting stuck. It's very cool. I think the actual combat like balance here is really fun. I'm excited to see where it goes further in.
Yeah.
All right. Generally positive.
It's
not a crazy complicated game.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like there's not a ton to say about it, not in a bad way, just because it's really straightforward and it's just really good at what it does.
If you like twin sticks or you like Metroidvania / classic Zelda likes, I think you'll have a lot to like here. That feels like the cleanest way to say it. Any other thoughts? Go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, because it's so, because the design is kept so like solid and simple like that, it also feels like there is a lot of game here.
It feels pretty expansive in terms of the scale I was expecting from the game.
I have 3 map fragments. It looks like there's at least 3 more. If not, oh god, this thing's huge.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts? Generally, do folks think they're going to keep playing this one? Is this one of the back pocket games?
Oh yeah, it's permanently on my Steam Deck because again, it's such a
I'm
great
gonna be
Steam
playing
Deck
it
game.
after we're done with this episode.
Nice.
It's a great game. It's a great game to play when my girlfriend and I are just like decompressing on the couch and we have something on the TV and we're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like I can play it, but I can also have a conversation while I'm doing it, or like maybe it's like perfect to play like right before bed because it's not super it doesn't get your blood pumping too much either, so it's a good like kind of
I think
before
that
you
you've
go
been
to
playing a
bed kind
different
of thing
game,
too.
Wyatt.
Alex has had a different experience. All right.
Oh, how many? I do want to ask what upgrades did you guys get to? Which ones?
Just like the
did you
level,
get?
or like what stats did we go for?
Did you guys not get any of the so like things like boost?
I have the
Oh, I
boost.
got a
I have
boost.
the
I just unlocked the dash right before this episode and had done most of the other areas with
What
no
is it?
dash.
Oh, okay.
is it spoilers if I say any abilities past that? Would you consider that? I got okay. I'll say it like this. I got the wah. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. That actually makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm one or two past the bois.
Ooh, that's the blah.
I love this. What a great...
Do you want us to explain, or are we
No,
just
I
gonna move on?
understand. Like I've seen the broken walls. I know there's some type of explosive ability.
Oh, that's not for the broken
Oh, that's
walls,
not-
Ryan.
oh,
That's
that's
not
not
the
it.
broken walls.
That's
Okay,
different.
yeah, no, I don't want to know anything then.
Oh, then yes, I also have that. I have one past the blah. At least as far as the direction I've progressed in, which I think there's a.
You know what? Let's just move on. I don't want to provide any context to that. I think that's perfect.
Go any further. All right.
Good.
That's Minishoot Adventures. Sounds like we're all going to keep playing it. We all really enjoyed it, which is great. I think this is one of the most classic, like simple games that we've picked that we've all had a good time with.
It's a good example of like it doesn't do anything fancy, but it's got rock solid fundamentals and
perfect Switch 2 port
does it
as
well.
well.
Yeah.
So if you got a Switch 2 and you want some nice,
if it didn't run well on Switch
games
2,
run it.
something would have went horribly
wrong. Yeah.
Uncompressed sound files.
I'd be surprised if this didn't run well on the Switch 1. But at least the Switch 2, it takes advantage of all the Switch 2 stuff. Okay. Next game I'm picking is going to be Mixtape. So toss that on y'all's lists. Because I'm curious. I want to play through Mixtape.
Yay, I can't wait to have decisive opinions!
All right. Let's jump, I think, after that into Relooted.
Speaking of decisive opinions.
Okay.
I feel like this is going to be our indecisive opinions of this episode.
Relooted. You play as a group of people who their goal is to take back African artifacts from various museums around the world and kind of put them back in their rightful place. So it's a 2.5D heist game where you're running around an environment. You're trying to open different doors and pathways and stuff where you locate where the artifact or artifacts that you're grabbing are. And then you're basically mapping out a pathway to leave, because as soon as you pick up an artifact, it's going to set off the alarm system. So you're trying to figure out the fastest way out of the building. So there's a bit of parkour. There's some you unlock different characters that have different gadgets and stuff that can help you get through all the different heists and stuff, which is pretty cool. And there's like some light puzzle solving. There's like floor switches and doors, and you can prop open the doors with like moving benches and that sort of thing. And then in between missions, there's a hub area where you can go and talk to people. There's like a town that you can go into. Yeah, I think that's it. It's got kind of like an Afro-futuristic kind of aesthetic and
Future
and soundtrack
Johannesburg
to it.
is pretty cool.
Yeah,
All the character
all that
designs
was
are
cool.
so cool. I love the outfits.
Yeah, all of that was really neat. Overall, I think this game has some really cool fundamentals going on, but I think it needed another 5-6 months in the oven.
Yeah,
I think is the best
I'm with
way to
you on
describe
that.
it.
I think there's a lot of like. So I think there are moments where you get into a flow state with Relooted, and it's really good. Where you're like, the parkour feels really good. You really get into it.
Except for one thing
cut
that
a
we'll get
line.
into.
Oh yeah, but that is not the meat of the game. I would say like that parkour bit at the start is a lot of it, but you very quickly kind of go down a little bit in that and go up in planning and like having to puzzle things out and doing a little bit more like slowdown stuff. And at least for me, the thing that like I really like the aesthetic of the game. I really like the music. I think the character designs are great. The thing that kept taking me out of this was the start stop of it always feels like you're starting and stopping between the thing that is really fun and then this like phase of puzzling that like individually those two parts are fun, but when you smash them together it feels like you can never really get committed to one or the other, and you're now having to bounce back and forth between two very different kind of games as you're playing it.
That's really interesting, because I kind of felt differently in that the puzzle stuff is first during a mission, and it's a slow build up to the running parkour stuff. And that part I actually kind of liked, where it's like it starts off slow. You're like sneaking around the you're not sneaking, but like you're walking around trying to figure out the best way out, and then it's the escape as soon as you trip the alarms. And I actually really liked that progression in terms of like it starts off slow but it ends really fast. Kind of like any good heist movie. It's like there's a lot of sneaking around, there's a lot of setup, and then everything goes to shit and everyone starts running around. And I felt like that actually was portrayed pretty well.
Yeah, I think for me it's not necessarily like that either side of it is bad. It's the balance of the two in a way where I think the gameplay wise, the more fun mechanics here are the running and parkouring, at least to me. Because the puzzles at the start especially, and again, remember I played about 90 minutes of this one, and got just before where you get another party member essentially, and it felt like most of the puzzles were just move up crate. Like they were very basic, kind of old school Uncharted. I need to move a crate into position in the right order to do a thing, and that started to drag a little bit. Where there was one area where Alex saw me like puzzling through this like section of like a high rise that you have to get through, but the doors are lined up and you have to move the tables into position underneath them to keep a door open to go move another thing, but you have to do that like 2 or 3 times to change which door you want open and build a route out, and that just was so slow. It was so like,
I do remember that part.
Yeah. Like it dragged a lot because it's a lot of like, okay, I know what I have to do, but mechanically doing all these things just takes way longer than it feels like it should. Considering how fast the other part of the game is, where like I think the puzzling part is really good, like where you get the drone to go and like search out different rooms and do like that type of like blueprint puzzling. I think was a lot more fun than I'm gonna do moving crates or moving the tables over and over. But yeah, the actual point, like running was really cool and fun.
And to that point, I think one of my favorite parts of the game design wise was how they introduce your toolkit gradually. So like they make it a point to say this many times in the beginning of like, oh, you got to plan out your route as much as possible. You have to look ahead and see what's going on beforehand, but you can't look at the entire building that you're in. And it's like, okay, it's kind of strange. They really want you to plan things out, but you can't get a good view. There's no map screen or anything. And then they introduce a drone that you can activate at any time by using the right stick, and it just like naturally moves the drone around, which I thought was a really slick way of doing that. And then the drone can go around and reveal rooms that you haven't been to, so you can much more easily kind of map everything out.
Yeah.
And the part to where I got to, there's a character that will basically shoot a rope out that you can use as a zip line, or he'll like zip you up to different areas and stuff. And they introduce this character by you wanting to hire him, but his whole thing is like, no, you got to catch me first. And so you're chasing after him as he's just getting out of your reach with his like zip line. So it's showing you why you need this character before he actually joins
really
the
fun.
roster.
Yeah, which is very cool.
It's like really, really good design work in terms of like introducing all of your different mechanics. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. I think that sounds very, very cool.
Honestly, one of my favorite bits in the limited that I've played so far are the actual like historical facts about the items that you're.
Yes.
It's a hidden educational game, and very well done.
Quite good
in
at
that
it,
respect.
yeah, as well,
Yeah.
which is very cool.
I really like it.
Where you have like
Wanting to
whenever
learn
you're
more.
planning a mission, you can like ask questions about the artifact and stuff, or you can skip if you don't want to deal with it. But you can like continue asking questions to like figure out, hey, why is this important? What was the history of this thing? And that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you that the parkour stuff is the best part. There's
I'm a big
obstacles that you have
fan.
to.
I love breaking into them in games.
There's bits where you have to like slide underneath stuff or climb over stuff, and if you hit X at the right time, you get a boost of speed, which feels really nice.
it feels very 2.5D Mirror's Edge in a very good way.
The problem with the sprinting and the running, the camera is kind of terrible.
That's my biggest problem with it. I got motion sick, just like Ryan said I would with the camera. It's bad.
I think what's happening is that the game wants to divide the level that you're in up into separate rooms so that it's easier to compartmentalize the puzzle, which I completely understand. The problem is when you're running through it as quickly as possible, the camera is waiting for you to get to the end of a room and then transitions to the next room. But because you're running so fast, you're already halfway through the room before the camera's done transitioning, and then it has to go to the next room. So it can't keep up with you.
It also feels like the camera feels like it's tilting to show you what's ahead of you, which is cool. But it feels like oftentimes you need to see what is behind you as well, because there are parts where you're doing like Mario style wall jumps back and forth and like have to go another direction, then change direction again. And when you're doing that, it feels super bad. Because like the camera will get locked in one direction, and then like when you try to fix it, it won't go back the other way. Along with the camera, there are times when you're like, that room transition thing means sometimes the camera will move and you'll like slightly move the character and accidentally trigger the alarm or something, because the camera has like completely to you moved where your position is. And that feels real rough. Like I think I would need to look through and see if there's any accessibility options to like turn the camera heavy like tilt down, because it's really aggressive. And like I'm not a person that ever gets motion sick, but playing through the first mission of this game where the camera like loops you through the building, it feels like it's giving me whiplash, because it like zooms through, but it's moving so quickly and so like it never stops to transition. It was a little jarring. And that so far I think is the part of the game that feels the least polished, is that camera work, because it just is like really, really aggressively changing.
What makes it more sad? What makes it more sad is that you at least I understand how we got here, because again, it's like it's good that it's kind of keeping all of the separate rooms again to help you kind of compartmentalize the puzzles. But then again, as soon as you start running, the transition's just too slow. So it's almost like the camera needed to kind of unlock itself when you're sprinting, but then that could also get kind of confusing, because when you slow back down, it needs to like lock back into place. It's tricky.
It's a complicated problem.
Which again, I think is because I don't entirely disagree with you that like the two aspects of like the puzzle solving and the parkour kind of clash with each other, and I think that's for me the thing where it clashes the most, and I have the biggest problem is just they kind of require two different cameras, but it's all within the same thing, so it just kind of doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a couple other minor things too for me, like I think it's the lighting. I think this is what it is about the art style, that I like the overall art style, but something feels plasticky about it in a weird way, and I think the
lighting is really flat. It's really flat.
It ends up being like really. It makes certain faces look really shiny, in like a odd way. It feels kind of like unfinished, I would say, in terms of the lighting hitting things.
And it's also disappointing because you're going into these museums late at night, and so you kind of want more intense like spotlights and stuff like that to kind of add to that heist aesthetic. Or if you wanted to do something where it's really dark during the puzzle section, but then everything lights up when you trip the alarms, could be kind of an interesting kind of state change there, but again, everything just kind of ends up looking flat.
Yeah. I'm also curious. There's a couple of controls that felt a little clunky to me. The biggest thing is that when you are calling your brother out to lockpick, you have to call him out, and then he sits at a thing and then won't do it until you go to him and hit the button again, which felt awkward to me.
You don't have to go to him to hit the button. I'm pretty sure you can just hit X.
Oh, you can just okay. That might.
And the reason they do that, is so that if there's something that you don't want triggered until you're running past it during the escape phase, that's when you can ask him to hit it. But I haven't gotten to a point where that would be super useful.
Yeah, but X is also the button you hit for getting the speed boost. So wouldn't you accidentally hit it during that phase anyway? Like,
I don't know. I haven't run into that yet. Maybe because they've positioned the speed boosts in a very careful way, but I don't know. That could be an issue down the line.
Yeah, there were some controls, at least to me, that felt a little clunky. And yeah, I think in general it just feels like this could have used another couple of months of polish, just in general, of sanding down some rough edges. Because I think there's a lot of it that I really liked. Like the concept is great, the art style and character designs are really good overall. I think the actual like parkour segments especially are really fun to do. It's just the camera is a really persistent problem. The puzzles just didn't feel great to me. They kind of fell in that weird territory of I wish they were either more complicated or less complicated to get out of the way of the parkour.
Yeah.
Than kind of being in this like middle. They're just slow but not super difficult is the way I would put it.
And it's also tough to talk about story when you only have a first impression, but I think
it's interesting.
I think some of the characters are kind of likable. I like the professor character a lot. She's pretty fun. I think part of the problem is like there's some pretty good voice performances here. I think others were kind of lacking too, which doesn't help either. But again, it's hard to judge when you've only played. I think I played 3 hours, so it's hard to judge in that department. But it wasn't gripping me right away, other than the premise being pretty interesting, at least so far.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. I think there is a chance I come back to this game, but it probably won't be for a while. This feels like a really specific mood, and yeah, the problem right now is there's so much stuff coming out that's really fun. Also, too, Minishoot was really good. I want to finish Minishoot. And stuff like that. But I do think there are like, if this conceptually interests you, like if you're interested in like the history of stolen artifacts, especially like African artifacts and like cultural stuff, I think you're gonna find a lot of really fun stuff in the game based on that.
If you've ever wanted to play as a reverse Indiana Jones, this is perfect.
Yeah, it's very cool conceptually, and like the actual art design of everything is gorgeous. Like I think the character designs are really, really fun. And yeah, the parkour is great. It just feels like there's a couple of things that didn't quite fully come together. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Relooted?
No, it's a shame. It seems like it didn't do very well, sales wise, because it's really interesting. It's not the kind of game that you see a lot. And it's one of those games where like, I would love to see a sequel, because this concept cleaned up has so much potential. So hopefully they can make a sequel and improve on some of the rougher edges, because I think there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. All right, Wyatt, what's your next game?
Yeah, so I have what I have in mind, but it might be too much for Alex's.
So we're floating the idea first.
So we're floating the idea first. It also feels like cheating because I've already been playing a bunch of it. My next game is Replaced, which again, it feels like cheating because I've already been playing a bunch of it. But I'm loving it, and I now want to force everyone. Yeah, I now want to force everyone to play it with me, because
does Replaced have a really bad camera? Or
Replaced, it's a 2D game, but it does a lot of camera stuff. There's a lot of like swaying during cutscenes. It's very cinematic.
Yeah. And with the combat, I have seen that when you were playing it. That is true.
It's very cinematic for a 2D game, which is why it's kind of we'll see what happens. My backup, if it's too much, is we'll do Forza, because I know with the accessibility features of Forza, we could probably get it to a place where it would probably work out for everyone. But that's my backup game.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, Alex, take us away into our final game of the night.
Our final fantasy game, if you will.
No! That was mine! Our final fantasy. Our third game of the night. Our Final Fantasy 3. Yep. You set me up so well, it took away every punchline. But yeah, so I saw this. I've been wanting to get back into the Final Fantasy series after I played 6 in like late, middle, early high school, and then 6 and Chrono Trigger around the same time. And then I didn't play any other RPGs for a very long time, and then I felt, burnt out of them. So I'm finally getting back into it, starting with 3. I don't want to necessarily touch 1 or 2 at the moment, but 3 looks very. 3, I think, from what we've seen, has that bare bones but solid, Final Fantasy, fantasy-esque plot going on. Your full team of party members that you get at the beginning, which I thought was fun, instead of having to go through. There's no prologue of you recruiting everyone. It's just you and your your
color swapped versions of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, who are orphans, by the way. You are playing around, and then you are chosen by the crystal. Go save the world.
It's literally light and darkness. It can't get any more cliche than that.
Hey, I mean, this is one of the games that established the formula.
That's fine. That's fine.
I got it. This is probably, if we're not considering the remaster release date, we're talking about the original release date. This is probably the oldest game we have played on the show. This came out in 1990 originally. And there's some real fascinating history with Final Fantasy 3, specifically 2, 3, and I think 5, because when they released in Japan, they did not release in the US. So Final Fantasy 1 did release both in Japan and US. So Final Fantasy 1 was also in the NES in the US. 2 and 3 did not get US releases until, for 3 at least, the DS version in 2006. So what was Final Fantasy 3 in the US was Final Fantasy 6, and Final Fantasy 4 was Final Fantasy 2 in the US. So it's really confusing to follow that. Now it's cleared up in that like all the games are available in the remastered collection and stuff, the Pixel remasters. But yeah, it's very fascinating because some people might hear Final Fantasy 3 and think of Terra from Final Fantasy 6 because that's what it was released as in the US originally.
Did you get some of this information from that? There was this like really cool video game history book that you got.
Yeah, I do have that book on one of the shelves behind me. I just looked it up beforehand because I wanted to make sure we had it ready to go because we're talking about Final Fantasy 3. But yeah, until FF7, they were not released as the same numbers in the US, which is very interesting. And then all the re-releases had the right numbering. So it's very fascinating to me how they were put out originally. But yeah, this is a fascinating one because this is probably the like simplest RPG we've played on the show ever. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I'm really curious what you two thought about this. I think I know what Alex thinks, but Wyatt, I imagine you might have had a different experience. I actually had a very good time playing Final Fantasy 3, which I did not expect. Because I've played every Final Fantasy 4 and past, aside from I've never finished 6, but I played a bit of it. But I had never played 1, 2, or 3. So getting to play some of 3, I was expecting it to be more like 1 and 2 than it actually is.
Yeah, it's not as rough as you would think it is. It has the genre staples down solid, but in their most bare bones form.
And a lot of this might be the playing the Pixel remasters and not the original version. Like I'm not sure exactly what was changed. And in this, but yeah, it's super fun going through, especially because like a lot of the thematics of Final Fantasy 3 get used in Final Fantasy 14, which I love, and so I'm getting reverse nostalgia playing 3 for a game that came out later that I played first. Where like a lot of the themes that 3 has were, especially music themes, were played in 14 during Shadowbringers. And so you get like nostalgia for music that is not from the game you are playing, but from the reuse of it in a different game in a different arrangement. It's super very cool.
Also, hit with a little like not necessarily nostalgia, but like and I understand this reference now bit. Did we ever? I don't know if we ever played or like played this together at all, but the game Evo Land and Evo Land 2.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it before a little bit.
Yeah, they have some solid like genre nods and homages and things like that are very clearly, oh, this is where this originated.
So what did you think?
Oh, it's fine.
I am curious, how far did each of you guys get into this? Because I think the answer for this game will be really different, just because it is really undirected compared to other Final Fantasies, in that you're kind of just set loose. And there's not like a lot you can do at the start aside from the main stuff, but you aren't really told where to go until you find people and talk to them.
I'm currently in the caves with Sarah going after the Djinn.
Okay, so you're not past that point yet. But yeah, that's about where I expected.
Finished the Djinn stuff, and I just left for Canaan.
Yeah, so I finished the Djinn stuff, went to Canaan, and have been kidnapped by a dragon. And dropped on a mountain, and the story really went wild after that. So I think it's really interesting in how the story progresses, because it kind of just goes from event to event really quickly, but in a way that feels relatively satisfying. I think there's a lot of like really cool stuff in 3 that just is fun to play with. Like, this is one of the most classic job system examples, so you can change out of combat. Does Sid
always have the airship in Final Fantasy?
Generally Sid is airship guy. There's not every Final Fantasy has an airship, so it is kind of like, or at least a flyable one, so it varies, but generally speaking, Sid is dude with airship. Usually the role. There's some differences, like Final Fantasy 16, he's instead old guy with lightning magic. But it varies.
I was about to say, yeah.
Which is also kind of sick. And your base in 16 can be like a broken down airship, so it's thematically similar, but he doesn't quite have like...
so excited to play 16 now.
An airship himself.
16's cool, man. I like
16 is really good. I really enjoyed it.
I can't wait to get back with nostalgia for the Torgal music, because I have his mount in 14.
Yeah. I'm curious if you two agree with this, because what actually this felt like playing to me, and this is going to be ridiculous as a statement, because this is referencing a game that came out far past Final Fantasy III as a reference to it. But bizarrely, this to me reminded me the most of, I think it's He Is Coming is the name. That like roguelike that we played, where it was kind of a classic RPG layout thing. This felt a lot like playing that to me. In a really fun way, because instead of being a roguelite, this is like you're just playing through it once, and so you've got this kind of simple story to go through, and I think that's very fun. It feels like a cool, relatively simple and relatively easy RPG to play so far, at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm afraid I don't really have that much to say, because to me, turn-based RPGs like this, I'm not super familiar with. So when I play one like this, I'm like, this feels like a lot of other ones that I've played, especially because I don't get super far into them.
But there's a special reason for that, because this is the granddaddy.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I don't have a lot to say, is because it's like, well, this is kind of the, this is the reason we have turn-based RPGs as they are. So it's, you can't really fault it for that. I will say I've never played a JRPG where you can hot swap classes with everyone. That was something I haven't really experienced
that's
before.
a really Final Fantasy III thing. specifically.
Which I thought was interesting. It does make me wonder how you meet other characters and stuff, because I feel like part of the appeal of like meeting new characters in RPGs is that you could have them join your party if you want them to. And so I wonder how that's affected throughout the story and all the other characters.
I mean,
that you
the
meet.
honest answer is it probably isn't. Like, again, none of us have played this game, so, and I don't think any of us know the story of it either. So
Nope.
we're really shooting from nowhere in terms of like, you're seeing people that have never played Final Fantasy III actually give, I think, completely blind story talk, which I think is fascinating for a game that came out in the 90s to still be relevant enough to have this conversation with. But that's the part of that I think is making me enjoy playing it, because I've played so many of the modern stuff that has that solution, right? It's like you get a new character who has a new story, and like they work a specific way, or they unlock a new job in the terms of like the new Like a Dragon games. So
My point
like
of reference is
gameplay.
is Bethesda RPGs. So like, Mass Effect, Dragon Age.
I think you
that
said
sort of
Bethesda
thing.
RPGs and then said Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Oh, did I? Oh god. Sorry, I'm so tired.
BioWare,
dear.
BioWare.
BioWare, excuse me.
Yeah,
I was
which
on
I
the
agree
right
with you.
train of thought.
That's very much like the common way of doing it now. So for me, what's exciting about this is playing a game that didn't have that be the standard. So it's kind of like peeking into history a little bit. I mean, it's not kind of like it is, to see how it handled, because I was expecting to not really be super bought in with this, because I had just didn't know anything about it, and I've played so many Final Fantasy games. It's like there's not going to be anything special for me here. But I think it is really fun that like you get the airship almost immediately, and can immediately
That
like
was
fly it
crazy.
aund.
That was
And,
crazy.
like,
He was like,
you say almost
I'm a
immediately.
ghost.
I
You
was
want my
wandering around in
airship?
the desert for a while before that triggered.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
really?
I think that's what's fun about it though, because it is like, it really is because like we don't have manuals for this game because it's in the remaster collection. We don't have anything else to reference. I think it is just a really fun example of a game that I had expected to be way clunkier than it is. Like I was really expecting going into Final Fantasy III that it was going to be a clunky, jank experience just because of how old it is, and it isn't. Like I can totally see why this was a big deal when it came out, because it plays so smoothly.
Mhm.
And like some of that is the remaster, but we don't have any of the assists turned on or anything. Like I've not disabled the counters or anything like that. So I think it is very much just like the game has aged pretty well, I would say, in a good way, and I'm excited that it's in these remasters available for people to play now, because it was not super available before.
I may have missed something. The thing that I think my biggest frustration, it was something kind of specific where I was like, oh, red mages seem kind of cool because they can use magic and they can use weapons and they can use armor. That's kind of the build I like to do in a lot of RPGs, is kind of like a spell sword type. So I was like, oh, this will be perfect. I'll pick this. But then, as far as I could see, you don't get a lot of offensive magic like right at the start.
You do
And
after
so
the second town. In the second town, so you have to kind of get past the gen.
well, that's what I'm saying though, is that that's still
Yeah.
a fair amount of time where you still want to be experimenting with different jobs and stuff like that. But
Well-
it just feels weird that the red mage doesn't really come into play until
Well, the red mage does,
after
because the red mage can use melee weapons, unlike the black mage. So you can make a red mage, still have them be a melee fighter, but they're able to cast cure or other things like that.
Right,
And so you can
right.
Wyatt, speaking. So, what was your party makeup? Did you? You said you had the.
It kind of switched. It kind of switched a little bit. So before I went for pure variety, so I think I had warrior, red mage, white mage, and a monk, I think. And then when it seemed like the red mage wasn't going to be doing a lot of offensive stuff, I switched the red mage to I think another warrior, and then I switched it to a monk because I was like, holy shit, the monks are overpowered as fuck. And then,
yeah.
And then I picked up
more than 200 damage a turn.
I was like, oh my god, this is
the monks are crazy.
And then I picked up a sword that only a red mage could use. So I was like, okay. And then I switched back to a red mage again, just because I wanted to try out the sword. So I think.
Did you try a healing spell on an undead creature?
A townsperson did tell me about that, but I haven't gotten to actually trying it yet.
I was wondering about that before I read it because I was like, I feel like I've been exposed to that as a genre staple before. It's like, oh, healing magic is against the undead. I'm just like, let me try and see that, and it works.
Yeah. One detail I did really like visually is when the ghosts are walking around in the towns, right? If they walk to the side, they're just like a little white line, and I thought that was really cute. And I
think that's fantastic.
Quite a bit.
I think part of it for me is that like I was getting the same kind of appeal that I get from a game like Morrowind from this game, and that like the actual mechanics of the game are very simple. Like the mechanical complexity does not come from what I am doing to interact with the game. It comes from finding things and like learning about the system, unlocking more stuff, leveling up, and like it means you spend a lot of time just figuring out how everything works, even though it is relatively simple. And I think just like having that and then the excuse to adventure and then seeing the first town after your tutorial town be everyone's a 2D ghost is really funny. And like it's a great lead in, I think, to a very unserious story, but I think that's fine. Like this one doesn't feel like it's going to lead into the modern Final Fantasy things of like super over the top dramatics like 15 or stuff like that. It's kind of just like a classic degree. It's kind of just a classic adventure, and like I think that feels very good. And yeah, I think the Pixel remaster looks good. The only thing I wish is that they had a better filter available. I don't know if anyone else tried the classic filter to add like scan lines.
I didn't really mess with the filters that much. I do have a few complaints though. Yeah. One, all of the names that I wrote in for my characters, which was just us, it was the 001 cast. They didn't show up. They told me at the start where it's like, oh, some characters might not show up, and I was like, okay, I'm assuming you're talking about like Tild and like weird characters like that, but no, I just typed in our names and they never showed up on any of the text boxes, so I have no idea who's talking. I have no idea who's saying what. It's real weird.
I think that's because I think it assumes it's always the first character talking, like whoever the main character is the first name you assigned, because at least on my end, because their sprites are different.
There's dialogue between all of them at the start, or maybe not. I don't know, because there's no names.
I don't think it matters because like they're not set characters, right? So you can kind of just go with whatever.
But I thought that, well, again, that speaks to, I don't know if it's just one person talking or all of us talking, because there was no names over the dialogue. The other thing that was kind of annoying, and I think this is specifically with the DS, because we're playing the DS version.
No, we're not playing the DS version. So this is the interesting thing. So before you get back to that, let me inform you on the DS version, because the DS version is 3D. It's a 3D remake, and it names the characters.
What?
So like the DS version has named characters, and is like a very different thing in terms of just like the presentation. It's actually very cool, but then like there is a reason for both to exist, because the 3DS version is dramatically different in terms of the pixel remastered. In terms of what you're playing, like they're both very different. Yeah, they're fascinating.
Well, regardless of whatever version we're playing, one thing that I wasn't a fan of was all of the text was like regular ass text, and it doesn't fit the like pixel art style.
Oh, you can't change that.
All. You can? Oh, okay.
It's a toggle. That was the first thing I changed. So I went in there and set it to be.
I didn't know that was a toggle.
Yes, it's just a settings menu.
For the cinematics, because that text at the beginning went by too fast for me to read.
No, I read.
It was a little fast.
So
I'm a very slow reader, so it was a little fast for me. But
yeah, you can change the fonts and stuff, and change. Like I added the scanline filter to make the pixels look like they're on a CRT.
Blend together well, actually get the color blending and gradients that you
My only complaint with it is I don't think it's a great scanline filter. I think there could have been a better filter option in there. As someone that plays a lot of like retro stuff through emulation and whatnot, I think they definitely could have put a couple of filter options in there that were more interesting. and looked a little better than the really aggressive CRT filter that they have. Though I do still prefer playing it with that compared to nothing. It feels like it just makes the models or the sprite work blend together a little bit better. But yeah, I do think the actual sprite work in the Pixel remaster is really, really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Seeing the basilisks for the first time in the next area that you haven't quite gotten to, Wyatt, is super cool because they have like really, really evocative art that I think is great.
I really liked when you're up in the airship and it kind of turns mode 7, but then
Yeah.
like the castle still
Yes.
stands straight up, which was really cool to see. Although I was a little taken aback when you're in the airship, you're flying way above everything else, but you still can't pass over the mountains. Like it's
Yeah.
fine. It's just visually I was a little confused at first. I was like, oh, I thought you could just fly over the mountains. We're already over.
You'll get. It seems like the airship is going to go further in the next area because it is like, oh, we can upgrade the airship at a certain point. So I think we'll probably unlock the ability to like go freely past mountains and stuff. But yeah, I think it's done a really good job of like leaning us in, and at least for me, it was pretty enjoyable. I do think the combat, at least at the start, is pretty simple. It's kind of just set everyone to auto attack and then occasionally cast a spell.
It's kind of where a lot of turn-based RPGs like this kind of lose me, because it ends up, especially with this one, where it's like if everyone just targets the same guy, eventually it'll just move on to the next guy, and there's not a lot of strategy so far right now where you're just kind of wailing on everyone and then occasionally casting cure or using a potion or whatever. But like,
yeah, I imagine it
that's
will get
really
more
where
challenging. As
I
it goes
imagine
on.
In
it's
some
just
games, you have to pick different enemies because if you pick an enemy that's dead already for someone to attack, then they just won't do anything.
But in this one, it just auto targets whatever next available target is,
which I am
is
very
like,
thankful for.
which is
Yeah.
kind of nice. But then again, it just feels like it feels more automated at that point, where it's just okay, we're all just gonna hit the same guy, and eventually we'll get everyone. Doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets more complicated later on. But that's again, it's always in the early game with a turn-based RPG where like the combat just doesn't do it for me right away, and so it's hard for me to keep going.
I'm so curious what you would think of Clair Obscura.
I
Gotta
mean, I've talked
gotta
about
get
it.
you
We
to play
talked
it when
about
you
it.
get out
I
of the
did.
RPG
We did
funk.
do. Yeah, well, I was about to say you guys had to turn a Game Pass episode. You guys had to use a Game Pass episode to get me out of retirement. This is what it takes, apparently. This is where we're at.
Yeah. All right. Do people think they're going to keep playing this one? Is this a... I definitely feel like I am, just out of... I don't know how long this game is as well. That's another thing that I don't want to look it up, because it feels like it's not going to be that long.
I've been groomed by other RPGs to think, oh god, I'm in this gameplay for 80 hours. I don't think it's going to be...
this is going to make it more reasonable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been having a fun time with the adventures of Spiff, Swirly, Sturk, and I think Swart or something is what I named them. Just all S names.
Frib, Forb, Frack, and Fribby.
Great. Yeah, I think that naming your party like that makes it really fun.
And I did all my friends. I don't think I'm going to keep playing it again. I think partially because I'm just not in an RPG mood, and I think especially for this kind of RPG, I'm just not. It just doesn't do much for me. I just think there's way too many things coming out.
You don't want to be captured by a dragon and then dropped on top of a mountain and then find a bunch of gnome people that need to make you small.
Listen, that sounds wonderful, but I don't care. I'm sorry.
Why is that?
Get a load of this. Why doesn't care about gnome people that make you small?
No, I mean it's very. I mean it's like I was about to echo what you were going to say earlier, or what you were saying earlier about like how for a game that came out in, what did you say, 1990, it's like aged so much better than a lot of games from that era. Like
it's aged better than
you could sit down. Oh yeah, and you could just I mean, I know that was a joke, but you're right. It's like you could just sit down and play this, and as like someone who hasn't played a lot of older games, and it's fairly frictionless in that way. So I think that's very impressive that you have a game that's from the early 90s, and it holds up this well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think regardless of like whether or not I actually continue playing it, I intend to, but we'll see if that really happens. Because there is a lot of stuff out, and I'm currently playing Skyrim again. So,
Oh my god,
it loops around. All right, Alex, what is your next pick for Game Pass?
It's time for government-mandated fun. We are all playing Trepang 2.
Ooh.
Okay, I didn't even know that was on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good time.
That's awesome.
I am going to be curious about your motion sickness, though, Alex.
Yeah, you're tempting fate.
You might have picked your own game.
You're tempting fate. I gotta say,
that's happened before. I have hated picks before, but God, if that doesn't look like action-packed fun.
Oh, it's very good. Yeah,
I will regret my words.
Okay, well, that's our picks for the next round, which means it's the end of the show, and of course, that brings us to shoutouts.
You know what my shoutout is, Ryan?
Do I?
I think so. I don't know.
We'll
see. Hey, my shout out is Destiny 2.
I'm
gonna miss it.
Pour one out. Destiny 2. All right. We've sent it off on its way. Wyatt, you got something for shout outs?
Yeah, I've been rewatching the TV show Band of Brothers recently. I haven't seen it in many years. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it is the like World War II like Steven Spielberg show. Just like very accurate depictions. It follows real soldiers and it kind of interviews them at the top of the episode, which is really interesting. It makes it feel like halfway between a documentary and like a drama series. It's just really well done, and I think for early 2000s it holds up incredibly well too. It's good stuff all around.
Yeah, very good. All right, I'm gonna pop in and shout out a little game called Rounds that Alex and I played occasionally. That I don't think we talked about on the podcast before. It's just a fun little 1v1 shooty guy thing.
Shooty guy
thing.
Shooty guy. The whole gimmick is that whoever loses each round, and you play like until someone wins 5. Whoever loses each round gets a buff that they pick from a randomly generated thing, and then you kind of like build out a little build. It's a fun little gimmicky game. I like it quite a lot.
I like farting bombs onto you.
Yeah, it's great.
Who doesn't love farting bombs?
Usually makes Alex win when he does that.
It is that's kind of my
little bit of your MO. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. As always, catch you next week for more giggles and gas, and more specifically, next week will be our pre-episode of the Summer Game Fest stuff. So it's going to be our predictions and chat about what we're expecting and all that. Because Summer Game Fest is rapidly approaching.
Oh, so excited.
Gonna have a lot to talk about.
Summer Games Fest.
A lot of cool games, hopefully. Can't wait to see what's there.